So whether you utilize the given template that I provided for you for the HR inbox, or if you just want to do this as a plain Word file, I don't mind. I really want to get into the meat and potatoes in terms of your guidelines and rubric because this is how you'll be evaluated. Okay? So when you click into the assignment, you're going to get an overview of what the scenario is. So you are given a scenario. In this case, a department manager wants to create a video to share with potential candidates to provide a realistic preview of the work. The manager is asking you for your advice as an HR person on considerations for what they should put in that video. So you want to ensure that the video accurately portrays the work, but also helps to attract diverse talent. And your reading is going to go into that. That's why it's very important that you do your reading first before you do the assignments, because what you're learning you can apply to these assignments. So you're going to draft an email response to the department manager, and you're going to describe to them at least two suggestions or two considerations that support employee experience, diversity initiatives, and recruitment practices. Remember, you're not doing the video itself, you're not creating the video. They're asking you, what should I put in my video? So you, as the HR recruiter, you're going to respond to them. So that HR inbox is just that. You're going to be writing a response back to the manager. So the directions are simple. You want to respond to the following using the email format. The first thing is provide at least two suggestions or considerations for the video. The second thing you want to do is explain how they support the initiatives and practices related to employee experience, diversity, and recruitment. And finally, you want to explain human differences and diversity and how these are considered in recruitment. Okay. So you want to be sure to write your email clearly using a professional tone. Again, your reading is going to go into what that looks like. And we also have ancillary resources that you can click in as you were reading the previous portions of the module before you get to the actual assignments. So, what to submit? You're going to submit your HR inbox assignment as a Word document, including using an email format. And you're going to include the subject line in your response to the manager. Okay, so I provided you with a template as you just saw. So let's dive a little bit deeper into what that looks like and how you're going to tie that back to making sure that you are meeting all of the criteria in your rubric. This is how you're evaluated. If you look here, your criteria is listed on the left, and on the far right, you'll see the value of the criteria. Okay, so for the two suggestions that they've asked you to outline, it's worth 30 points. You explaining how to support the initiatives and practices related to the employee experience, diversity, and recruitment is worth 30 points. The diversity is worth 15 points. The tone of your email is worth 10 points. And the format of your email is worth 10 points. And of course, the articulation of your response is 5 points. All of those points add up to 100%. So this is how we grade you. And so I wanted to go over this very quickly with you because some of you are new to the online environment. Maybe you've transferred in. So I wanted to explain this to you so that you'll know as I'm looking at all of your work throughout the course and your other professors and other courses that you're in, we're always looking at the criteria, and this is what we're grading that specific assignment on. Each assignment has its own rubric. So it's very important that you understand that and that you utilize this as you're forming your responses. And the more clear you are with this, the easier it is for us to correlate it back to the rubric and the points that you are assigned. So, earlier, you saw me talk about the HR inbox template. Again, this is optional, but it is in my announcement, okay? Not inside of the rubric and assignment, but it's a part of the announcement. So remember earlier when I said read your announcements before you even jump into your module? That is why, because then you're already equipped with the information that you need and tools of success that can help you. And so now let's take a look at this, and we're going to correlate this back and forth. So with this template, and again, this is optional, you can just do a Word file that's plain as long as it is structured that aligns, has a structure that aligns with the actual rubric. All right, so let me pull this out just a little bit so that we can have that format a little bit more defined here. And I'm going to pull this back. So the first thing is 2 suggestions. So remember, the directions is to respond to the email with an email with these 3 criteria. So you'll see 2 suggestions or considerations. You see that here. You see initiatives and practices. You see that here. And you see diversity. You see that here. Okay. So content-wise, your email should have 3 parts, 1, 2, and 3. So I did a little bit of an example here. I don't want to do the assignment for you, but at least want to show you how this can work. So I'm going to go ahead and make this a little bit larger. All right, and then I'm going to zoom in a little bit more so you guys can see this better. So remember, you are a consultant. The hiring manager has reached out to you and said, hey, I want to do a video to recruit candidates. Can you help me out? What should be included in my video? So you are responding in the email. So that is what you're writing here. So here you want to put HR inbox module 2 and then put the topic. So the topic would be, you can name it what it's here, which is the department manager, or you can name it video project. So let's put that. So you're going to create oh, I guess that didn't come up. Sorry, guys. Let me, I'm trying to hold on to my project. So you just click right in here and you'll type in video project. And then what you're going to do is you don't necessarily have to write anything here. I'm more interested in the actual title because that's what this is asking you for. So here it says include the subject line with your response to the manager. So you've just done that. But I also want to make sure that you put your module there. Okay, let me make this big again. The next thing is your salutation. Again, your book and your reading and the supplementary links that we provide in the module before you ever get to the assignments are going to be things that prepare you to complete these successfully. So your book is going to go into this, and we also have a link to a source that's going to talk about email formats and things of that nature. But I really am doing this more so that I can help you correlate how you write your email with the rubric, which is how we're going to evaluate you. So the first thing I would suggest is that you do your salutation and then you let them know that you read it. And here are 2 things that you could consider when creating your video. So the stuff I have here in blue are just simply there to provide in this video here, just to give you a little guidance. So the first thing you want to do is your salutation and then acknowledging their question. And so now here are responses. Here are a couple of things that you should consider because remember, it's asking you for considerations or suggestions. All right, so use the terminology. All right, that way we can tie it back to, I can tie it back to the rubric as I'm reading your response. So now let's get into it. Here are your 2 recommendations, 1 and 2. First, and you don't have to use my verbiage here. This is just an example. Do your reading and then formulate your own responses. If there's a little bit of overlap in what I've put here, that's fine. That can be used as a framework if you want to. I won't see it as plagiarism, but I do want to make sure that you're not quoting me verbatim, but using this as a framework of how you can do it. But don't just go off of this lecture. Please do your reading, okay? And make sure you click on the resources in the module prior to doing the assignments. So, salutation, acknowledgement, and here are 2 things to consider when creating your video. First, you may want to consider discussing the role and responsibilities in your video, right? Because they're hiring for a specific role. And then, but be sure to tie in our company's core values as it relates to how important the employee experience is here. For example, this could include employee resource groups and communities of practices here at our company. Other key selling points to attract talent could be blankety blank. I don't want to write this for you, but you all do the reading so you can start to use this as a framework to fill this in, okay? I just want to give you an example of how to write this according to what I'm looking for here on the rubric. So as you can see, That's suggestion 1. Here's suggestion 2, which is another approach to the video could be blank. So whatever blank is, all right, be sure to highlight our blank programs and total rewards, etc. Again, I don't want to give you too much. I want you to read and fill these things in for yourself. As long as your message ties in our company's core values. So, how do I know it's 2 that you've done? Because I see first and I see another. You could put next, you could put secondly, whatever you want to do. But that's how I'm evaluating. Did you meet this criteria? If you met this criteria, you're going to get the full 30 points. Contingent on if you did it in an exemplary way. I'm saying that word so wrong. But, or if you did it proficiently, you'll get 85%. Needs improvement is 55%. And not evident means that maybe you didn't do that. Maybe you just started writing an email because you didn't read any of the modules and you didn't look at the announcements and you just jumped right into the assignment. So that's why I'm saying it's so important. I know I keep hammering it in, but this is our first real high value assignment. So I want you all to get it right so that as you go forward, you know what the expectations are and you do the exact same thing on all of the assignments going forward. All right, so the next thing is, have you touched on the initiatives and practices? So you want to utilize those words when you're writing your response, right? So you could say, the initiatives and practices. You could utilize those words in here, but here I just say be sure to tie in our company's core values as it relates to. I'll know that you're talking about initiatives and values because if you're talking about our employee groups, or employee resource groups, or communities of practice, these are initiatives. These are best practices. So I will know that when I read it. It will be more implicit for me. But if you want to explicitly say the words and make sure that you tie in initiatives and practices such as our employee resource groups and our communities of practice, that's fine as well. As long as I can correlate what you've written to what we're looking for on the rubric. Okay, so that's 1 and 2. That's how you'll be able to do it. So that's that first and second criteria. So again, provide at least 2 suggestions, 1, 2, and explain how they support the initiatives and practices. And that's going to be within the framework of each of these. Okay, so you don't have to separate them in a way that, okay, I'm going to do bullet point 1, initiatives and practices, bullet point 3. No, you're going to incorporate it as a part of your communication. And it's really training you on how to create a professional email. And then finally, explain how human differences and diversity are considered in recruitment. Again, your reading is going to inform your response. I will be looking for those core the terminology and some of the competencies that they talk about in the reading. So that's how I'll know if you're doing exemplary or proficient, or if you're going to need improvement, or if it's not evident at all. That's how I'm going to know. So when it gets to the diversity part, here I'm going to talk about that third component. Well, as you compile your video, be sure to include images that are reflective of our diverse workforce. Doing so will blank. All right. So this is where your book is going to come in handy for you, where you're going to be able to talk about why showing these types of imagery would be important to the psyche of people who are looking, diverse populations and diverse employees and professionals who are interested in working for your company. So you want to make sure there's representation and explain why. And as long as I see that, you will have met all 3 of the criteria that they're looking for here, which are the top 3 and most high value criteria in your rubric. And then the tone, format, and articulation of response all have to do with what I'm seeing, right? So you're going to write your suggestions and considerations and incorporate how it supports initiatives and practices related to the employee experience, diversity, and recruitment. And you're going to do the same thing with your second one. So that's what we've done here. So now I'm going to get rid of these blue highlights. So now, and I'm not going to fill it in because again, I want you all to fill it in, but I want you to see how this can work. All right. So you won't have all that stuff and you won't have quotation marks, obviously, because you're the person speaking. So it's your voice. I'm going to take bold off of that because again, these are keywords that let me know that you are going along with the template or the rubric. And so, boom. All right. And now you can see this is what your email will look like when you turn it in. So when you turn it in to me, this is what I should see.